What's up out there, everybody? Welcome back to the ultimate countdown of the top 100 movies from the 1990s, where cult classics, blockbuster hits, and cinematic curveballs all battle for nostalgic supremacy. In this episode, we're diving into the heart of the list, entries 50 through 41, where iconic sci-fi, streetwise drama, indie attitude, and a certain red dress will make its presence known. This batch of movies is just overflowing with unforgettable quotes, explosive and memorable moments, and performances that defined the era. So buckle up, because this stretch of the list truly proves that 90s cinema was firing at full speed. In 1990's Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts would light up Rodeo Drive, starring as a charming escort who captures the heart of an uptight millionaire played by Richard Gere in a fairy tale meets rom-com story that turned shopping montages and bathtub sing-alongs into cultural landmarks. Now, when Pretty Woman was released, it wasn't just a rom-com. This was pretty much a cultural earthquake. This movie was everywhere. Julia Roberts, in the role that launched her into America's sweetheart stratosphere, played this Hollywood hooker with a heart of gold and a wardrobe to match, and paired with Richard Gere's stoic millionaire, the movie effectively sold a fantasy just as glossy as the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. It took the age-old Cinderella tale, it sprinkled it with 90s sass, gave it a collection of iconic moments, and audiences loved it. Critics mostly approved as well, and the box office just went wild. It made $460 million plus globally, and it turned Roy Orbison's title track into a karaoke staple for generations of tipsy romantics. Robert's bubble bath scene, legendary. The opera date, it's imprinted in rom-com DNA forever, and who can forget the retail revenge line? It really did become the battle cry for underdogs everywhere, and despite not being a big rom-com guy, I admittedly love the atmosphere and the sappiness this movie delivers. Sure, its fairy tale gloss did draw some criticism over its simplistic portrayal of sex work and class dynamics, but that's just overthinking it. Even the skeptics couldn't deny this movie's charm. Julia Roberts' megawatt smile powered the whole enterprise, earning her an Oscar nomination and just eternal pop culture real estate. Pretty Woman, with its charm, commanded both audiences and the spring and summer of 1990. Will Smith punches an alien in the face while Jeff Goldblum hacks intergalactic Wi-Fi signals in Independence Day, the explosive July 4th sci-fi spectacle that redefined the phrase popcorn movie in 1996. I think if the 4th of July ever needed an official movie, that Independence Day would win by unanimous explosion. Director Roland Emmerich really did turn global annihilation into a fun popcorn event, and Will Smith, he officially became the king of summer blockbusters by punching an alien in the face and then lighting a cigar. This sci-fi spectacle, of course, is much less about realism and much more about scale and grandeur and patriotism, and Jeff Goldblum delivering tech-babbling word salad while outsmarting alien firewalls. That White House explosion, really in one shot, I think became the cinematic snapshot of the decade, with Bill Pullman giving a rousing speech that felt like a cross between Abraham Lincoln and Braveheart, yet somehow still managed to tug at the heroic drawstrings. Multiplex audiences worldwide stood and cheered for this movie. It was a movie where plot holes were forgiven as long as something exploded every 10 minutes or a quotable line was being dropped. I watched this movie so many times that summer with my friends. We certainly contributed to its box office haul of over $800 million. It really would become the blockbuster template for the rest of the 90s and beyond. Merchandise flew off the shelves, and Will Smith's star power just went supernova after this movie. Critics, of course, may have grumbled about cliches, but audience didn't care. The cliches were what we loved about this movie, and we were all too busy watching aliens get wrecked by Earth's moxie to even care about it. I mean, Independence Day is pure, unapologetic spectacle, and that's why it still delivers to this day. King of New York, Christopher Walken plays the most unusually smooth drug lord to ever ride a limo as Abel Ferrara's gritty crime saga turns Manhattan into a war zone of ambition, corruption, and sudden violence with a pre-Lawrence Larry Fishburne scene stealing like a bandit in the night. Long before prestige crime dramas became the streaming series norm, Abel Ferrara dropped this gritty, stylish gangster movie. King of New York was a bullet-riddled saga wrapped in street grit and soaked in a brutal elegance. Christopher Walken here plays Frank White. He's just out of prison when the movie starts and he's ready to reclaim his throne, but not just with violence, but with a twisted sense of philanthropy. He's like a Robin Hood in a tailored suit with a gun in his belt, wanting to rebuild up his community on a foundation of bullets, which never really goes well. And with a loaded supporting cast with names like Fishburne and Snipes and Caruso and Argo, the movie really is a who's who of 90s cool, especially from Fishburne, who without question steals the show as the trigger-happy enforcer Jimmy Jump. He just brings an energy to this movie that feels like it could detonate at any minute. He's a true cinematic wild card. Critics were split on this one. Some saw it as a morally murky mess. Others hailed it as an operatic take on urban decay. I've personally always loved this movie since I was a teen. Something about it just always appealed to me, particularly from Walken's confidence no matter what the situation was. This movie's influence would be felt for years in hip-hop and fashion and even TV crime dramas. I mean, this movie just oozes attitude. It doesn't care at all about your opinion or your traditional arcs, and it gave Walken some of his most meme-worthy material long before memes even existed. King of New York is what happens when art house meets bullet casings, and somehow it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. In this one, Bruce Willis flies a cab in the future, Mila Jovovich speaks divine gibberish, and Chris Tucker invents intergalactic glam radio in Luc Besson's The Fifth Element from 1997, a wild, neon-drenched sci-fi opera that defies logic, has the layers of an onion, and demands style points. Now, you've never seen a sci-fi movie like The Fifth Element. It's part space opera, part fashion show, part Looney Tunes episode. I mean, Luc Besson's futuristic roller coaster here delivers spectacle with style and just the right amount of nonsense to make it all fun. Bruce Willis is playing this flying, taxi-driving ex-soldier who suddenly finds himself as the galaxy's only hope, thanks to this mysterious orange-haired supreme being played by Mila Jovovich. Add Gary Oldman as a vibrant villain channeling Eastern European art critic, and you've got a cinematic chaos on your hands. Glorious, vibrant, mesmerizing chaos. When this movie landed in 1997, it did divide critics, but it dazzled audiences who were just ready for something ambitious and visually bonkers in that pre-Matrix sci-fi landscape. Now, admittedly, I enjoyed this movie, but it didn't really grab me when it was released. But it is a movie that I really have grown to enjoy as I've gotten older, oddly enough. I always have loved Chris Tucker's performance. His high decibel DJ Ruby Rod is truly a master class of absurd humor. And over the time, I mean, The Fifth Element has become a cult favorite, especially amongst fans who want their dystopia with a vibrant color palette, loads of visual spectacle, and a hefty sprinkle of weirdness added on top, resulting in a movie that's just beautifully insane and timeless and totally unforgettable in all the best ways. In 1993's Falling Down, Michael Douglas ditches traffic, trades his briefcase for a baseball bat, and goes full rage quit mode through Los Angeles in this unhinged suburban meltdown that's part thriller, part social commentary, and all tension. Michael Douglas, rocking a stiff buzz cut and a short sleeve button down, plays a man who abandons his car in LA traffic and embarks on a very bad day through the city that inevitably pushes every single one of his buttons, kind of resulting in a train wreck you can't look away from the price of a soda, burgers being served after breakfast hours, street punks, even a golf course become targets of this guy's slow-burning fury as his day spirals out of control. Director Joel Schumacher excellently taps into that early 90s urban anxiety with a vengeance, crafting a thriller that feels part cautionary tale and part urban legend. It really struck a nerve in 1993, kind of arriving at a moment when economic frustration and social tensions and just angry white guy culture were boiling over. The movie doesn't at all excuse Douglas's rampage, it more so watches him unravel with equal parts horror and fascination. Also, let's not forget Robert Duvall, who's fantastic in this movie, playing the one sane man in Los Angeles on his last day before retirement, naturally, who just comes in and cements the entire film in a grounded reality. Back then, audiences didn't really know whether to cheer or to cringe. It was super creepy watching it as a kid, and really unlike anything I'd ever seen at the time. I found Douglas's unraveling just to be terrifying, and really watching as an adult, he still very much is, but just in a much more complex way. I mean, these days, Falling Down kind of plays like a time capsule of pre-internet rage, back when being offline didn't mean peace, it meant unpredictable violence. It's a film that kind of sparked debate on mental health and gun culture and what it means to snap in a world that never seems to give you a break. In this one, Wesley Snipes brings the shades, a trench coat, plenty of his own gadgets, and a whole lot of martial arts skill as a half vampire, half vigilante who slices through bloodsuckers in Blade, the 1998 comic book adaptation that kickstarted a whole new era of superhero movies, even if Marvel low-key refuses to admit it. Before Iron Man suited up, and long before Spider-Man swung into box office glory, there was Blade, a leather-clad vampire slayer who, outside of the Punisher, moonlit as Marvel's first big-screen badass. It was released in 1998, and it did arrive like a stake through the heart of stale action flicks, offering a dark, stylish, and violent take on the comic book movie formula that audiences didn't even know they were craving until they got to see it. Wesley Snipes just knocked it out of the park as Blade, a half-human, half-vampire daywalker with the swagger of Shaft and the sword skills of a samurai. He hunted the undead with extreme prejudice, and it kicked total ass. His grizzled mentor, Whistler, played to perfection by Chris Christopherson, gave the film a great duo. Then as the villain, Stephen Dorff, he plays Deacon Frost with just a nicely calibrated gusto, and Blade was a sleeper hit that redefined what a comic book movie could be. It could be bloody, it could be R-rated, and it could be actually cool. I mean, the opening rave scene, complete with sprinklers spraying blood, was still one of the most unforgettable intros in any action movie. I remember calling in sick from work one day and sneaking into the theater to watch this movie and Van Damme's knockoff, and Blade was clearly the generational film I watched that day. Though it flew under the radar critically at the time, I do think that Blade paved the way for the modern superhero boom. Without it, there's no X-Men, there's no MCU. It wasn't just a movie, Blade was a comic book movie resurrection. Now, before shared cinematic universes were cool, Kevin Smith would deliver 1995's Mallrats, sending Jason Lee and Jeremy London wandering the mall, chasing after girls, comic book legends, and getting pretzel-based revenge in a slacker comedy that's just got a heart full of geekdom. Before nerd culture ruled the world, Mallrats was busy loitering over by the food court, talking comics, talking girls, and delivering stink palms. Kevin Smith's second feature after Clerks traded black and white philosophy for full-color adolescence as slackers T.S. and Brody wander a New Jersey mall trying to win back their girlfriends and maybe bump into Stan Lee along the way. Now, Mallrats mega belly flopped at the box office. Critics didn't get it, and audiences weren't quite ready for comic book deep cuts and extended debates about superhero anatomy. But as the years passed, this movie did find its people. It came out my junior year, and I watched it anytime it was on cable, but I really grew to love it later in college, and on DVD, it really just became a rite of passage for college kids and skateboarders and anyone who knew that hanging out and doing nothing at the mall was secretly doing everything. Jason Lee's Brody is a patron saint of pop culture obsessives. His monologues kind of feel like Reddit threads long before Reddit existed, and Smith's reoccurring characters, Jay and Silent Bob, would be introduced to a wider audience, turning them into just 90s stoner icons. A young Ben Affleck plays the typical cocky retail manager. Shannon Doherty is great in this one as well, and Mallrats is now a time capsule of the pre-Amazon mall era where the only algorithms were which order to visit your favorite stores. It's messy, it's juvenile, it's gloriously immature, yet somehow still a blast, just like your 20s. In 1998's American History X, Edward Norton delivers a powerhouse performance as a reformed neo-Nazi and a hard-hitting portrait of hate and redemption and the brutal cycles that bind them. This was a film that punched right through ideology and landed straight in the gut. Now, American History X is one of those movies that pulls no punches, and it results in a master class of uneasiness and tension. Released in 1998, it was pretty much like a grenade lobbed into the conversation about race and hate and social divide. I think Edward Norton is cinematic perfection in this one, with a performance so raw and unsettling it practically burns a hole through the screen as a reformed neo-Nazi trying to keep his brother from following in his footsteps. I think Norton delivers the full spectrum of emotion. He delivers intensity, intellect, and just the terrifying transformation this movie needed. This is one of those films that kind of demands that you sit with it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. I mean, the black and white flashbacks, they're stark and haunting. That curb scene, it's unshakable, and yet it's not just about the shock value here. There's an empathy, there's an emotional weight beneath this story. It's a story about the cost of hate, not just to others, but to yourself and those you love around you. And when it was released, American History X, of course, earned a lot of acclaim, but it also garnered a lot of controversy as well. Director Tony Kaye disowned the final cut of the movie, but it did find its audience. I remember seeing this movie. It was a cold, rainy day, and coming out of the cinema, this movie lingered with me for a long time, and I was not alone. I mean, it left a lasting cultural scar. I mean, in classrooms, film forums, late night dorm debates. I mean, American History X sparked serious conversations, and it brought uncomfortable truths into focus. And even today, it feels disturbingly relevant. Its impact is undeniable. Its messages were urgent. And Edward Norton, I mean, he walked into this one and straight into an Oscar nomination, forever changing how audiences saw him. In Donnie Brasco, Johnny Depp goes deep undercover inside the mob and finds a reluctant mentor in Al Pacino in a gripping, based on true events, crime drama that explores loyalty, betrayal, and the high cost of a wiretap. Forget about it. With those three words, Donnie Brasco became more than just a mob movie. It officially became a quotable cultural artifact. This undercover drama paired Johnny Depp with Al Pacino in a very low-key but extremely high-stakes story about mob loyalty, hierarchy, and disco-era FBI wiretaps. Here, Johnny Depp plays a real-life undercover agent, Joe Pistone, who infiltrated the mafia by getting close to Lefty Ruggiero, a weary, low-ranking mobster played here with a surprising vulnerability by Pacino. Their relationship really is the core and the heart of this film. It's less about shootouts and more about emotional shakedowns. This movie is less Goodfellas and more Godfather meets buddy movie, with betrayal hanging over everything like a guillotine. Critics loved the restraint, and Pacino gave one of his most grounded performances of the decade. No shouting, no yelling, just sadness. And Depp, coming off of his quirky indie streak, proved that he could still do drama with the best of them. And let's not forget Bruno Kirby and Michael Madsen and Anne Hesh rounding out a stellar 90s cast. I loved this movie as a teen. Naturally, I'm Italian, so I pretty much love all mobster movies. I read the book. It was another film that pulled me into writing when I was younger. It didn't explode at the box office, but Donnie Brasco quietly became a gangster film favorite, especially for those who like their mob stories with more emotional touches. Plus, it taught a generation that forget about it means anything, everything, and nothing. In 1995's Friday, Ice Cube and Chris Tucker try to survive a single chaotic day in Crenshaw out on the front porch in a hilarious slice of life comedy that gave us unforgettable catchphrases, hysterical neighborhood drama, and a buffet of iconic moments. To me, Friday is just a simple but hilarious and equally heartfelt snapshot of life in South Central LA, where the biggest threats are boredom, drug-dealing ice cream man and his cronies, and Debo. I mean, Friday is the kind of movie where almost nothing happens, yet everything seems to happen, and in the funniest and most quotable way possible. Ice Cube plays Craig. He's a laid-off everyman who got fired on his day off, and he's hanging out on the porch for a day with his fast-talking, weed-smoking friend Smokey in a career-making role by Chris Tucker. And really what follows is just a series of escalating misadventures involving weed and bullies and neighborhood crackheads and the occasional uppercut. I mean, this movie is just filled with supporting characters that all leave their imprint. I remember watching this movie with some friends one night when we were partying and yada, yada, yada. I think I might have had an out-of-body experience while watching this movie from laughing so hard when it hit theaters. Friday became a sleeper hit, loved by audiences, mostly ignored by critics, but over time it became a cultural cornerstone, launching a trilogy, launching Chris Tucker's career, boosting Ice Cube's production power, and proving that black comedies could be fun, laid back, slice of life stories, and still be wildly entertaining. Friday also gave us John Witherspoon's unforgettable dad wisdom in a neighborhood that felt so vivid you felt like you'd been there. Friday wasn't just funny, it was real, and for millions of fans, it's still the perfect movie to throw on to kick off the weekend. And that's it for today, guys. That wraps up this explosive middle stretch of this top 100 movies from the 90s list. It's a lineup that's packed with a lot of action and genre-defying hits and street-smart energy and just enough quotable lines to last a lifetime. But don't go anywhere, because next time we're cracking into the top 40, where things are going to get bigger and bolder and even more unforgettable. From cinematic legends to pop culture milestones, these next entries coming up are the kind of movies that didn't just entertain, they helped define a decade, and you're not going to want to miss it. So hope to see you guys all back for that next episode, and until then, please never say die.
This is Jack Burton.